I've achieved my goal, and that was the thing that was difficult to contemplate not achieving. You know, all season long I knew this was going to be my best chance to win the championship, and I knew I'd had 2 close goes in the previous seasons, and with the announcement that I wasn't going to be driving for Williams next year, I knew also this might be my last chance for a while.
Damon Hill's Formula One career is definitely a unique one, and an interesting one at that, having made his Formula One debut at the age of 31. 1992, he drove for the Brabham racing team in his first 2 races of his F1 career. Shortly after that, drove for Williams the following season, where he really showed his best. It was during his time at Williams that he was given a chance at a championship, considering how dominant Williams was during the 90s. In 1996, Damon Hill accomplished what his father did, and that was winning the Formula One World Championship. But before we go into a deep dive into his 1996 campaign, there are a few key factors leading up to that year you must know first. Hill showed the world that he was at championship caliber level during season 1994, with 6 wins and 11 podiums during the span of 16 races that season. It was a close fight for the title between himself and Michael Schumacher. But in the final race of the year in Adelaide, it ended in controversial fashion when Michael Schumacher and Hill came to blows. Schumacher ends up getting away with it, winning the title, as Damon lost by 1 point.
And all I can say is that it's over now, and it's a bit of an empty feeling, but I think I gave him a good run for his money, and he certainly was feeling the pressure because he ended up falling off the road.
Lap 36, an error by Schumacher triggers the conclusion to the 1994 World Drivers' and Manufacturers' Championships.
Oh, out goes Schumacher. The German is out of the Australian Grand Prix, and Damon Hill only has to keep going to be world champion of 1994, but can he keep going? Because he hit Schumacher's car, and if Damon Hill has to retire and you see smoke pouring off the wheel, that will mean that Schumacher will be world champion. What an incredible development.
Then season 1995 was a mixed one, with 4 wins and 9 podiums, yes, but with 7 DNFs. When Hill wasn't delivering, the results hit rock bottom, affecting his chances at the championship, whether it was something or someone slowing him down.
Before the end of lap 1, Barrichello had done it. Berger was 4th, Coulthard 3rd, Schumacher 2nd, and Hill leading by a little over a second. Then, disaster. For the patriotic crowd, it was heaven sent. Schumacher had been gifted the lead, and his prime challenger was out of the race. Lap 24, Schumacher 2nd, Hill 3rd, Taki Inui in the way. Bang! For the 2nd time this year, the pair are off and the controversy immense. Schumacher straight over to Hill to vent his anger. Hill was just 3 behind Coulthard. Lap 59. It probably didn't cost him the championship, but it's certainly when he lost it.
It makes me more determined to win, and my only goal is to win the championship.
With the contract not renewed for 1997, 1996 would prove to be the last season for Hill driving for the Williams team before going to Arrows the following year. As the old saying goes, save the best for last. In the first 3 races to kick off 96, Hill won all 3 of them, one of which was in Brazil, performing brilliantly in the tricky wet conditions, having led 68 of the 71 laps in the Brazilian Grand Prix, and had set the fastest lap. Another dominant performance was in Argentina, where he started from pole position, led every single lap, and won with ease. Then at the Nürburgring for the Grand Prix of Europe, Hill had a poor getaway at the line when the race got underway, which favored the lead and race win to his teammate, rookie sensation Jacques Villeneuve. Villeneuve already being considered the closest challenger to Hill in the 1996 F1 World Championship, considering the gap between the two drivers was 11 points heading into the next race in Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix, to which Villeneuve struggled to keep up with Hill, considering getting into it with John Alesi in the Benetton on the opening lap in the first few corners, which in turn damaged Villeneuve's suspension, costing him a points finish. But on the other hand, regarding Damon Hill, he dominated and led a vast majority of the San Marino Grand Prix en route to a victory. It could have been the same outcome in the following round on the streets of Monte Carlo, but as fate would have it, it wasn't meant to be. While leading the most laps on course to take on the win, one moment a race win was on the cards. The next, it went up in smoke, as his Renault engine blew up, crushing his chances of winning the biggest race on the calendar. His teammate and championship rival, on the other hand, Villeneuve, didn't make it to the finish line either, as he crashed into Luca Badara, approaching the lowest hairpin. Things weren't any better for Damon in the following round in Barcelona de Catalunya in the Spanish Grand Prix, finding it difficult to keep the car on track and on pace, as the conditions were damp and very wet, eventually spinning out of the race. Not one of the best races in Hill's career, and due to Hill not finishing the race and Villeneuve finishing on the podium, the gap was now 17 points between them in the championship table. The next two rounds saw Hill picking up the pieces in Montreal and Manicourt, dominating and winning at both locations, extending his lead in the championship. Then we come to Silverstone, his home Grand Prix, where he started from the pole position, but just like in the European Grand Prix, didn't get off the line very well. But he did rebound to third place, and looked to be on course for that podium finish, approaching the second half, until problems with the left front wheel put a stop to that, spinning off the track at Copse and into the gravel trap, once again not making it to the finish. Villeneuve picked up the scraps and sealed the win at the end of the day, catching up to Damon Hill as the gap between them in the championship was now separated by a margin of 15 points, heading into the next round at the Hockenheim Ring, which a place where Damon had failed to score a single point there. Yeah, Hockenheim didn't take too kindly to Hill, whether fate or other unfortunate circumstances plagued him out of a points finish. But this time around, however, it was different, sealing maximum points, securing the win, his 7th of the 96 season. Then following the German Grand Prix came the Hungarian Grand Prix from the Hungaroring, where he started second and finished second behind Villeneuve. And considering it was another day of maximum points for the Williams team, this result was good enough to officially claim the Constructors' Championship for the team. As far as the Drivers' Championship was concerned, it was still yet to be decided between the two Williams drivers. But at the moment, heading into the next race in Belgium, Hill still holds on to that lead by 17 points. Following the Belgian Grand Prix, it was a 5th place result for Hill, earning 2 points in the process of that. Now we come to Monza for the next race, but unfortunately, Hill clipped the tire barrier, resulting in a spin and out of the race, out of the points. Same can be said for Villeneuve as far as finishing out of the points range is concerned. But he kept out of trouble and out of harm's way, albeit, again, out of the points, finishing 7th. For the penultimate round, located in Estoril, Hill controlled the race until the late stages. The final round of pit stops in the final laps saw Villeneuve with the upper hand, ahead of Hill after Hill tried to do the uppercut on his teammate, which failed, and in the end had to settle for 2nd place behind Villeneuve once again when it was all said and done at the conclusion of the Portuguese Grand Prix. And considering how the result played out, the championship was still yet to be decided heading into Suzuka for the last race of the season, with 9 points between them. And Damon's chances of winning the title were still very high. In Suzuka for the season finale, both Williams drivers locked up the front row of the grid, but it was Jacques Villeneuve with the pole position, with Damon Hill starting P2. At the start phase, Hill got the whole shot and had the better start. He got the lead and didn't look back, making no mistakes, and ran away from the field. Behind him, his teammate was pushing to catch up, which, as a result, Villeneuve ended up in the gravel due to his right rear wheel flying off. And that was that. That was that. And with that being said, the championship, right then and there, was decided. Not only did Damon Hill cross the finish line in 1st, leading every single lap in the process, but also with it came the championship honors, as Damon Hill was crowned as the 1996 Formula One World Champion.
This is something that many people didn't think could possibly happen today. They thought Damon would drive a cautious race, but he fought. He fought from 2nd on the grid. He passed Jacques Villeneuve. He took the lead. He stayed there. And Damon Hill exits the chicane and wins the Japanese Grand Prix. And I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat. Michael Schumacher passes Damon Hill, but too late. Damon Hill wins in Japan, and he started this race 9 points ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. The record will show that Damon Hill won the championship 19 points ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. Well, Georgie looking immensely happy, as indeed she may. She and her husband have been through some very difficult times together. They've come out of them in front, smiling, and Damon Hill has...
engineers and everyone who supported him in his time in Formula One. It's fantastic.
This was also history in the making, as with Damon winning the title, became the first father-son duo after his father Graham won the F1 title on 2 occasions during the 60s to win the Formula One World Championship. Graham Hill in 1962 and 1968, Damon Hill in 1996. With the Hill family having 3 overall. Again, Graham with 2, Damon with 1. The final margin of 19 points separated Hill and Villeneuve after the final race of the 1996 season. And what a way to go out in what would be the last race for Damon Hill driving for Williams before going over to Arrows the following year in '97. Then over to Eddie Jordan in the last 2 seasons of his F1 career from '98 to '99. But that aside, Damon Hill's championship season stats from 1996 look like this. With 8 wins, 10 podium finishes, started on the front row in every race, all 16 times, with 9 out of 16 from pole position, clocking in 5 fastest laps, and funny enough, car number 5, also leading for 480 laps, with an average start of 1.4, as well as an average finish rate of 4.8. One of the best championship season stories F1 has to offer in the sport's history. With Hill claiming the title in '96, this made up for what happened in Adelaide back in '94, just a few years prior, which happened 29 years ago, as far as Adelaide '94 was concerned, at the time of this recording. 27 years later, a well-deserved feel-good moment for a well-deserved champion. Going out with a bang in what was the last drive for the Williams team in a very competitive championship caliber machinery. And just like that, that wraps up today's video presentation. If you've liked what you've seen, click that like button to show this video love and support. If you've really liked what you've seen, hit that red subscribe button to stay up to date with more Formula 1 content like this video here, and also documentaries in the future. And I also recommend turning on the notification bell so that way you'll be immediately notified of a new post on this YouTube page. Whether it's F1, NASCAR, IndyCar, and other forms of motorsport. But until then, I, Turn 4 Productions, signing off the mic as always. And until next time and further notice, peace out, stay safe, and have a good one.
And Damon Hill wins the Japanese Grand Prix. And I've got to stop because I've got a lump in my throat.
Damon, for 12 years you have fought, you've trained, you've denied yourself, and you've reached the pinnacle of motorsport. Has it sunk in?
Well, I think, Murray, right now I feel fantastic about what's happened, but I think it's going to take a couple of weeks, maybe months, for it to really sink in, you know, the full impact of what I've done, because right now everything's hit me so quickly, and I haven't allowed myself to think about the championship. Although it's been going all season, I haven't really allowed myself the thought of, of actually winning it, because I needed to concentrate. So I'm really now just entering in unknown territory, but it feels good.
Damon, did you ever, in your heart of hearts, in your innermost thoughts, doubt that it would happen?
Well, and I never, put it this way, I never counted on it. I always prodded myself and reminded myself all the way along the line that it wasn't going to be given to me, and that I had to work for it. And if I didn't do everything I possibly could to win the championship, then I'd never forgive myself. So this season I believe I put everything I possibly could into it. But there's always that doubt. There's always the fear that, for whatever reason, it might not happen. And it might not be your own fault, but at least if you've done everything you can, that's the most important thing.